Hey traders, welcome to another crypto market update. We're going to be looking at really primarily just the crypto market, not really going to be looking at stocks, or maybe we'll talk about the US dollar a little bit because it is really important when we are looking at crypto, just because we are looking at sound money, safe haven assets in terms of inflation, in my opinion, especially just BTC, but BTC does control the speculation to some degree within the altcoin market, which is pretty important because it's definitely pretty hot right now, and we will talk about that later in the video. So let's first look at BTC. Let's actually look at the weekly because it is important to understand the large time frame. Obviously, I'm sure everyone knows we just absolutely smashed through the previous all-time high of 19.6K, 20K, somewhere around there, depending on what exchange you're looking at. But definitely we have now broken and surpassed by far the previous all-time high, and we've hit $24,000 on Coinbase. Obviously a massive impulsive push to the upside. We will be looking at continuation patterns, but we do see a very nice squeeze that occurred right at 20K, and then we absolutely exploded above this zone. I think this is a potential level where we could see a pullback to validate this previous level of resistance, because we have seen, let's get our brush, we see our first touch right here, our second touch right here, and then our third touch right there, all within 3 candles, really valid zone. And then we just saw an absolute massive bullish push to break above it. We theoretically couldn't see a pullback, that could never happen, but we do have to potentially think about that if that is an option. Obviously you'd be looking at smaller time frames, and if you do still have positions in, you'd be looking for continuation patterns. If they fail, you still have to move your stop loss to make sure that you're capturing that significant amount of movement that the price has seen. But overall, we are looking for continuation patterns, and if it doesn't look great, we'll obviously potentially back out. But right now, in my opinion, we are not seeing a pullback. We're seeing continuation pattern, and we'll take a look at that within the 30-minute time frame. But yeah, the 19.6 to 20K zone is a major zone. If we fail and start to turn down, we're going to be patient. We're going to be not looking for an entry too quick here. Ideally, we want to see if it does actually come to us, something maybe like this. We get a descending triangle formation. We don't exactly know. It's kind of something like this, except obviously this broke to the downside, but you see this nice squeezing, and then you're going to get that pop if it is holding above that 20K zone. So we'll be looking for that as a possibility if it starts turning, but right now in the 30-minute time frame, in the smaller time frames, it does look like it is forming a triangle, and it broke, and it's retesting, and it looks like it's potentially moving to the upside again. So we'll take a good look, but I'm sure everyone is well aware of this massive triangle that already broke out. And that's why we were looking at this zone right here as such a major level to retest. And we were calling bullish from there. So hopefully you guys are able to at least profit from basically the 120% move that has occurred. Basically, depending on where you got in, maybe right around here. 100 and let's say 17, close, 117, 120%. But at the end of the day, definitely, hopefully some of you are profiting with us here. So moving on to a smaller time frame, let's now go into the 30-minute. Let's actually break it down on the 4-hour and then take a look at it on a smaller time frame. So this was the squeeze up against the 19.6 20K range. So let's just talk about it by drawing a picture really quickly. And this is the first major impulsive push. So we're going to be looking for basically 2 things. We'll talk about this after. But right now, we're going to be talking about the impulsive push. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Elliott wave, I'm sure you guys may or may not know. But you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We could be starting the first wave right now. And then the second wave could just be that little pullback right here. And the third wave is usually the longest, so this might be the next push to the upside. We'll be looking at a small time frame here. It does look very bullish, but that's going to be the first option, is if we get 2 more very strong impulsives, the third wave and the 5th wave. The 4th wave is going to be the pullback, so this is the second wave right here. So we're going to get the third impulse, or the second impulse push, which is the third wave, and then the 4th wave, and then one more, and then it's slowly going to consolidate. Maybe an ABC we don't exactly know, but we'll see how the price action looks. But right now, that, in my opinion, is what it's looking like it's doing after our long consolidation, because this was the first impulsive push right here. This came all the way from the pullback to retest the 10K zone, and this is one strong impulsive push. And then we had our consolidation. The market moves in waves, so it obviously doesn't go from A to B in a straight line. What it usually does is it'll move in waves. So it'll go up and down and up and down, but overall it'll get to where it's going. It'll just move in waves. So these are the impulse pushes that we're looking for, and we're looking to enter within the completion of the exhaustion move before the impulsive push. So these are the types of moves that we're obviously looking for. Every trader, if you're a continuation pattern trader, obviously that's going to be what you're looking for. So this is the continuation, price action pattern that we were looking at. It wasn't a descending zone. We like to see descending wedges or descending triangles ideally, but this is very bullish because we see higher lows coming in. That is pushing the price higher and higher. The bulls are all right with paying a higher price to enter. Obviously, that's pretty bullish. And then we saw a nice contraction within the resistance zone, 1, 2, 3. And then we saw one last touch right there. And that previous resistance turned into a new level of support. We were consolidating right here, already broken this resistance zone, as well as holding this support zone, creating a symmetrical triangle. This was the ideal zone, in our opinion, to potentially enter, if not when it broke above this major level. Yes, we ideally could have saw a retest. That would have been the absolute perfect entry, but this, when the price broke above the descending zone right here, this descending trendline zone, that definitely would have been the signal and the indicator. So hopefully at least you're investing if you have not traded. But anyways, we're now going to be looking at that impulsive push and then this continuation pattern. So let's take a look at this zone. We see a nice triangle that broke to the upside, and now we're going to be looking for that continuational push. Let's take a look at the 30-minute chart here. Kind of a similar pattern to what we saw right there, except we're now already retesting this previous high. So if you look at a smaller time frame and then take a picture, we can talk about this a little bit more. We saw a nice little squeeze that started to push the price up, and then once the momentum started to break the 20K range, which was, let's say, right around there, the bulls absolutely took over, and this is our first continuation pattern after the bullish push. We can see that there are higher lows, yet again, very strong indication that buy pressure is definitely present, and the bulls and buyers are all right with paying higher and higher prices for BTC because the anticipation is they are going to see some price appreciation to then sell at a higher point, making profit. Obviously, that is the goal of a trader and really an investor. So we see these lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and we see a very tight contraction after an expansionary period, which is right around here. So this is great to see because we like to see contractions before expansionary periods because it is a wind up. It's the bulls slowly accumulating and the sellers dying off, and we can see immense amount of buy pressure for the amount that it has moved up. And then when we see that pullback, which is right here, we see very little sell pressure, not a lot of sellers in the market, and there are a ton of buyers. So this is strong volume accumulation. And even within that bullish push here, we see lots of buy pressure. And yes, we do see sell pressure within these two highs right here, but it dies off pretty quickly, and then we see the accumulation occur, and then once you get these strong bullish impulses and then the pullback, we see very little sell pressure when you are getting the pullback to validate this zone. Not a lot of people are selling because they think they're going to be seeing more price movement to the upside. So I agree with the overall market in that I think that there's going to be another bullish push to the upside. We will take a look at the dollar really quickly because this is obviously negatively correlated with the dollar. Dollar goes down, Bitcoin goes up. So we're going to be looking for this zone right here to hold as a strong level of support, and I will definitely be all right if it does come down a little bit because we could just be forming something like this, like above this previous resistance to form a new level of support right here. And then this is going to be a zone of confluence because you get this ascending trend line here to create additional buy pressure right here. So the 23,000 zone is going to be a strong level of support, 22.9, somewhere around there. So if it does fail below that zone, that obviously is a little bit worrying because if we go like this, we could see something that would be a head and shoulders. This would be the left shoulder. This is the head, and we could see a right shoulder right here. So could pull back somewhere depending on where the zone is, and then put another right shoulder right there before breaking to the downside in this retest. But overall, that is a potential possibility, but I'm not really going to be looking for it until we start to see a shift in market structure. Right now, the buy pressure looks absolutely phenomenal, very strong. The price action has already broken and retested this previous resistance. It's looking phenomenal, and we can take a look at the smaller price action here just to take a look at what is occurring. But overall, I'd have to say that it's yet again looking very bullish in my personal opinion. This is a consolidation period and a contraction of volatility before the expansionary period. We are looking for that first impulsive push from the buyers, that strong confidence where there's going to be a new trend, a momentum shift, and this is what we're going to be seeing right here, in my personal opinion, within this upcoming week. I think it's going to be more bullish activity within the cryptocurrency market. We saw that massive impulse push with tons of buy volume coming, and then we saw a huge carry of the momentum. Even after the bullish push, we were still going up 13%, right? So this is that bullish push. You didn't have to be in right here. It's 5%, but you could still get that next 6-7%, which is going to bring you up to that 25K, next major level of resistance, in my opinion. So overall, that's going to be the outlook for BTC. We can even get our little arrow. Oops. And go like that. And it's around 25.8. Sorry. We got to go there. Never mind. 25. Yeah, that seems much more on point. So that's going to be the next level of resistance for us, at least. So still a lot of potential there. We're just looking for short-term trades and swing trades. But you do, in my opinion at least, have to have different pots for different times in different investments, like time frames and investments, really. So some is just strictly investing. You don't touch it for withdrawals. You only invest and accumulate. And then another pot would be to trade. Another pot would be for like that medium time frame, like that swing trade. So in my opinion, I think that's a good opportunity to kind of diversify in different time frames, because if you're only short-term trading, it can get a little bit mentally draining because you don't have anything else that could potentially be making you money. So now we're going to be looking at the US dollar really quickly. Backing out of that, silver looks pretty decent, but we're not going to talk about that today because that will be for another day. We could talk about metals for an entire video. So obviously US dollar has been plummeting. We did see this nice tight consolidation, this continuation of pattern. It's just a nice sideways channel. Let's just quickly take a picture to kind of know exactly what happened. This was our nice ascending wedge. Right, we saw one retest, two retest after it broke, 1, 2, and then this key level of support. Once it started breaking, we saw one retest, two retest, and then it just started plummeting. This is our first continuational pattern after the impulse push. This is the impulse push down. This is a continuational pattern. We see a nice sideways channel. We see a break and retest right here, and then now we're going to get the continuational pattern. Probably going to be sucked down to 89, 88, somewhere around there, because that's going to be the next major level of support. If we look at the previous time frames on a, let's say a weekly, we see that this was basically a huge double top, and we are basically right here. So it took a huge move up, we pulled back, consolidated here, came up, and then got smashed down, and now we're here. So if we go below this zone right here, we're going to be completing the double top, and that's going to be a very far ways down that we're going to be falling. So this is a major zone, so I think there's going to be definitely some level of activity, some level of sensitivity where there's going to be some hesitancy to move down, but I don't think that the momentum is going to stop, to be completely honest. Interest rates are still going to be kept at zero until something happens, like CPI numbers start going up, but consumer price indexes are at basically almost nil in the United States. There's absolutely no reason why they would increase the federal funds rate, and they just can't afford to because they have too much debt. So I think that they're going to try to suppress the interest rates at 0% for an extremely long time, for as long as they possibly can, like they did after World War II, and then look what happened in the 70s. And that was like in the 40s, 50s, they had an extremely low interest rate, like 2% or something, very lowest in the United States history, really, in terms of the I guess, modern America. Don't know about Europe, but yeah, pretty unbelievable. And then in the 70s, they had that massive inflation boom. Gold absolutely skyrocketed. I think we are entering that phase right now, but a lot of the capital is now going into cryptocurrencies. And if we're looking at market cap, gold is at currently like $9 trillion in market cap, BTC 360 billion. I don't exactly know the number, but a lot less. So there's a lot of room for growth, and I do think that a lot of the capital is going to funnel into BTC because a lot of people, especially in the institutional realm, are now perceiving it as digital gold, gold 2.0, and it's more scarce. Theoretically, you could find asteroids, but you can never find BTC on an asteroid or anywhere. It's only within the network and miners. So at the end of the day, it is more scarce, so we will see how the next 2021 goes. I'm very bullish on it, and we'll quickly take a look at the weekly chart to get an understanding of the double top. There it is. First top right here in January of 2017. Second top was in April of 2020. We see a nice big double top, and we can even see that this is such a major zone. We saw a massive bearish push, and this is the first consolidation period right around here. We saw a very tight squeeze like that, but this is the major zone, right? We saw very, very key levels of sensitivity right here, and this is our first structure, or reversal. And then we saw this kind of flip opposite, so we were consolidating here, and now we're consolidating up here, but this is a potential reversal pattern. So we're going to get our move to the downside, our push to the upside, consolidation, right, in both sides. This is a squeeze, this is a double top, but it looks like we're now going to be starting to trade back down below the 88 zone, which is such a key level, and then we're going to be doing something in here. It depends on if we're going to be making a triangle, and then we're going to be continuing the momentum down. That would be unbelievable. It would take a while because we do see these trends are very long, but yeah, I think we could be entering a phase where we're failing to hold this 88, 89 zone, which is such a major zone on the weekly chart for the DXY, because it's a potential double top. And then we see this previous zone right here be the previous structure, which is now mirrored on here. So such an important zone, around 88 to 90. So if we're going to fall down below that zone, I think it's going to be very bearish. I think crypto is going to be doing very well. Gold, silver will also be doing well as well, but definitely something to keep an eye on is the DXY 88 to 89 zone, for sure. Let's now enter the realm of equities, gaining exposure to crypto. First, we're going to be looking at Neptune Dash. We've been talking about this for a while, me and Nathan. Awesome opportunity, in my opinion, because a lot of these other equities that provide investors and traders with crypto exposure are already doing very well, and Neptune Dash just broke out. We were really telling everyone on our Discord and in previous videos, even podcasts, that it's looking phenomenal, right? Massive squeeze, and we see that relative to other, let's even take a look right now. Relative to other assets in the space, like Marathon Group, Mara, Grayscale's GBTC, or we can even look at the other single asset instruments that Grayscale has. They have one for Horizon, they have one for Ethereum, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, and I believe a few others. And then this is the Ethereum one right here. ETHE is the ticker symbol, and then we see all of them are doing very well, or at least obviously way better than Neptune Dash. And I view this as an opportunity. They still have a ton of masternodes for Dash. They're well diversified. They're looking for revenue-based investments within the cryptocurrency space. So they're mainly looking at staking. They stake Dash, Ethereum. They also hold BTC and Litecoin and other assets. I believe they hold Horizon and Atom, which is pretty interesting. So they do diversify pretty well. So if you're looking for not a single asset exposure like Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust or Ethereum, I think it's a really good opportunity. And they're also generating income through staking, so they're able to basically have income coming in, and they're not relying on price appreciation. So when you do see that bull run, you're basically doubling up. It's like getting a dividend. As a company, you are receiving income while you're getting price appreciation, so it's valuing your company a lot more. Overall, obviously extremely bullish, and the customer base will never end unless the network ends, which I do not think is a very high likely possibility. They're in pretty solid projects, so overall, I'd say it's a really good opportunity. And we're looking at the price action. It's a nice symmetrical triangle, very, very tight squeeze. And then we see a push up, breaking the previous two highs, a retest validating the previous resistances as a new level of support. And then you see on the weekly chart, we have a massive bullish push moving 67%. And I think this is just the absolute beginning. It's at 19 cents right now. I believe IPO right there, unless I'm using a different exchange here, was in January of 2019 at 84 cents. So even if we're just looking at this as a trade, not even an investment, I'm kind of viewing it as an investment for sure, not really a trade, just because it's so volatile. There's not much liquidity. You don't want to get in and out a lot because you're going to get just eaten up by the spread, and unless you're like limit ordering everything, which is definitely a good idea. So if you're just looking at the, definitely talk about this. Come on. Let's say you are a little late to the show and you get a nice retest right here, previous high, new level of support. You get a nice little pullback at around, let's say 18. Previous low right around there. Definitely a little bit giving you lots of space. You still get a 7 RR, which is pretty phenomenal, and then you're looking for higher highs and higher lows to continue that overall trend to the upside. I definitely don't think it's out of the extreme left field to think that it's going to jump up 355% just because equities, especially this low of a market cap, I don't exactly know the float of it, but I know it's not substantial. They don't have a ton of outstanding shares out in the market. It's not like exorbitant amount or anything. So overall, I'm not going to get too deep into a single asset, but I think Neptune Dash is definitely a decent opportunity if you have no exposure in crypto, or if you just want a little bit more of a diverse product to invest in instead of buying all these different assets in like an exchange or whatever the case may be. So that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on. Grayscale's investment products, BTC, and Ethereum definitely are looking very phenomenal. Something I did notice is GBTC actually didn't even break the 38, 39 high that we saw back in 2017, 2018. So relatively speaking, it's not getting the same love that BTC itself is getting, but I do still think obviously you buy into this, you not own, but you get theoretically a certain amount of exposure in BTC. So unless they change the share structure, theoretically it should remain relatively stable or relatively correlated with each other, which they very well are. So yeah, definitely a decent product. I would say BTC looks a little bit more bullish, but overall looks pretty phenomenal. Ethereum's massive potential, slightly off-camber double bottom is looking pretty solid. Haven't even broken that previous high yet, around $24. High was at 68, around there. So it's looking pretty good. Doesn't have a lot of volume, so this would be really only for people who don't really want to get a hold of a hardware wallet and purchase Ethereum and go through the understanding of how to actually navigate your way to be able to do that safely and securely. So good opportunity. I'd say Ethereum would be a better option, but you know, those are pretty decent. But I'd say Neptune Dash at this point has a lot of possible upside potential and a very skewed risk reward to benefit the investor or trader at this point in time. All right, we're going to take a quick look at Stellar because I do think it looks like a pretty good opportunity. Let's take a step back to a large time frame to understand why. Don't know why that's there. All right. So we know that, I think there's another chart that's a little bit better. That's okay. We know that this is a massive push to the upside. Obviously, let's take a picture. Let's explain a little bit more. So this is a little bit off camber, but we do see pretty major level of support turning into resistance, 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 and then we see that this was a support turning into resistance with a series of lower highs. You get a little bit of an expansion here because we saw a high, high, higher high, higher high, and then if we're really looking at it, we could use that as a support as well. So we could go like this, something like that. So that's creating additional level of support along with this zone of previous resistance, which is acting as a new level of support, which does look pretty good. And then we saw a nice squeeze like there, coming from there. Massive bullish push. We did see some news about Sweden using Stellar Network instead of Ripple, and there was some other fundamental factors. Tons of volume relative to basically any other period in history. So we know that there is a ton of people who are looking at this, or at least people who have a lot of capital backing them. So we know that there's definitely a lot of interest, and we see that there's strong buy pressure at around 14 cents. So let's take a look at a smaller time frame. What we're looking for is a bullish push and contraction, and then another impulsive push to the upside. So I think we do see that right now, where we're seeing that consolidation, that contraction in the volatility, and then we're looking for that next impulsive push. So let's take a deeper look at a time frame that's a little bit easier to see. Let's zoom in, because I know a lot of people are watching this on a mobile device. I have been getting notified. All right, so we see this major impulsive push, and then this is the consolidation period. This is the pullback. This is the market breadth. We need these in a healthy market, and it's great to see. We see a very well-respected support once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then we start seeing these higher lows, and we already know that there is a descending level of resistance right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a bunch of times, and then we see the first impulsive push with lots of buy volume coming in, and we see more buy volume every single time than sell volume. We do see a decent amount of sell volume here, which isn't absolutely awesome. If we go to a different time frame, we probably will see something different, but overall, if we look at the volume and the price action, we see a lot of buy pressure, especially within the accumulation phase right here, maybe disregarding this point. We see every single time we get more buy volume, and the sell volume is way less. So that is indicating to me that there is strong volume accumulation, which is great to see. So the price action is looking good. Strong bullish push. Previous strong level of resistance, 1, 2, 3, as well as this descending zone is now acting as a strong level of support. We do see some sell pressure here, and maybe they're going to get shaken out right here, because we're seeing the price not actually able to break down below the 18-cent range. We can see that. So it's squeezing right now, which is great to see. The price action looks great. The volume looks solid. That I don't absolutely love, just because there's more sell volume there, but we are getting the sellers to come in at around that just below 20-cent range, so they could get shaken out once we start to see the bullish push coming in, which would obviously just accelerate the overall buy pressure, because in order for them to get out of the market, they need to buy back the amount of Stellar that they borrowed from their broker or exchange. So we're going to be looking for that. Let's look at a smaller time frame here, coming from the 4-hour down to the 1-hour time frame. We're going to be moving that a little bit like so, just to make it a little bit cleaner. So we know that this is the first impulsive push. After this squeeze right here, this is the buy pressure making higher lows, and this is the sell pressure right here, especially right here. You see you getting hammered down, and then boom, this is your first impulsive push. Now we're going to be looking for that consolidation, the market breadth, the pullback, and then if we change to a different time frame like we did, lots of buy pressure, lots of buy pressure, lots of buy pressure, not much sell pressure, right? Not much sell pressure, even in the deepest of parts. This is the sell pressure. The buy pressure is a lot more significant. And then when we're looking at this break right here on a different time frame, look how much buy pressure there are, not much sell pressure. So when we look at a different time frame, we can see that the volume changes, because obviously each candle is a different amount of time it's calculating for the amount of transactions that took place. So it definitely really is important for top-down approach for price action as well as volume. So we can see lots of buy pressure, and then on the pullbacks, like we can see here, huge push to the upside, pullback, not as much sell pressure. So overall, I really like to see that. Stellar is looking pretty phenomenal in my opinion right now, and then we're seeing a squeeze after the impulsive push. This is the impulsive push, this is the squeeze, the contraction and volatility before the next impulsive push. So what are we looking for specifically? I do see a nice zone right around there where there has been previous sell pressure, buy pressure, buy pressure, sell pressure, sell pressure, sell pressure. That could be the first zone that we want to see broken, and then we could be squeezing between like 19.195 and this zone right here. So squeezing in there, and then once we start trading above 0.195, so like above this zone to around 0.2, let's zoom in a little bit more and then take a picture. Once we start trading above this zone right here, that looks great, but once we start consolidating and being able to really cement that we are above this zone, look at the two previous times. This is the 1 hour and we couldn't even close above this zone. The next time we did close, but immediately after we got smashed right back down below the 19.5 range. What we're looking for is to ideally see the price break and hold and not get immediately slashed down. If we start to see consolidation, and then maybe ideally even a tightening, like if we break right here and then we go like this, and then we see a tightening to some degree, that is ideal, and then we're going to get our bullish push. That's going to be our ideal opportunity to at least add on, if we haven't already, after this break to the upside right here. So once it starts trading here, that's going to be looking phenomenal. That is option 1 for an entry. If you want to be more conservative, you could wait until there's an option number 2 right here before the next impulsive push. And then this is going to be the expansion phase. You want to already be entered before the expansion phase comes in. So that's going to be the ideal situation for Stellar, in my view at least. Surprisingly, Chainlink is not looking phenomenal. I haven't been keeping as close of an eye. We can take a look at it right now, actually, but hasn't been as great. Ethereum is looking really phenomenal. We can take a look at that after. Monero, I'm interested in just because the Treasury did create some regulations that prohibit people from basically sending cryptocurrencies from exchanges to personal wallets, which obviously is an invasion of privacy because you have to tell the government exactly how much money you have, or how much sound money you have, I guess you could say. But anyways, let's now go on to Chainlink. Let's go to the weekly chart, understand exactly what happened. It's still looking good on the weekly chart. Obviously, massive push to the upside. We're going to get some level of consolidation. But this doesn't look awesome. Even on the weekly chart, like, look how weak that is. It's very strong. We're getting a nice, easy pullback. It's not as, I guess you can't say easy, but, you know, series of lower highs, higher lows. And it's like concentrating in a little bit of a channel, but it's not explosive. We're seeing a nice channel and it's like breaking slightly. We're seeing a little bit of a break right here. So if it starts to move to the upside, that's great. And then we'll get some hesitancy, I think, right here, that zone. But it's not looking like it's consolidating. Like we could see maybe something like this, and then like it's like BTC is doing very well, but if we see something like this, that could be an option. If we get a little move like that, a little deeper, and then a little contraction to really validate that yes, this is a triangle. But right now, it's not looking phenomenal on the weekly chart. On the daily, let's take a look right here. I want to line up all these higher lows because I could definitely draw a line right there. Yeah, it's like right at that edge. So let's draw a projection, because we do see some wicks like right here. Open that up a little bit. Even then, doesn't look phenomenal, and the fact that we broke above this major high and then came back down is not great. This zone right here, so let's just take a picture and talk about it a little bit. So this did look great. Impulsive push to the upside. We're looking for some level of consolidation because this is such a major level right here. So we'll just draw that in. Didn't even pull back all the way to this previous low. And then we saw a nice consolidation right here, where this was a push, corrective move right here from sideways to slightly down. And then we saw it hold a series of lows right here. And then it created some higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. You got your nice ascending triangle right here. And then you got your impulsive push. You want to see a little bit more active, but it's not completely done yet. If we break down below, let's say $10.50 right here, that's going to be where it's going to be, I would say, a little bit less bullish, because then we're just making maybe a pattern a little bit deeper. We don't exactly know. But right now, it's not done, but it's pretty close to it. You can draw that, and that could be the squeeze, where this is still your level of support around just above $10, $10.50. So we are still seeing a squeeze here. So we could still see that bullish impulsive push come, but it's not as buoyant as the other alts in my personal opinion. But that opportunity is still available because we do see that bullish push, a corrective move. Not ideal that it is breaking below this previous resistance, which is now should be acting as a new level of support, but overall, it's not done yet. If we start seeing some bullish momentum coming in, could be a good opportunity. Let's just draw in at a deep, smaller time frame right here. And then we see this level of support right here. Recovered from that low, came in, that's pretty good. And then we can see that this previous level, kind of around this rejection, like this support bounce, and then it came down and then retested right there, as well as this support right here. So we can slowly move that away, or actually just make it a lot less visible. It was around right here. Let's just make it a little bit less visible by going like that. And then what we see right now, let's take a picture. Hopefully you're still with me. There we go. We see this zone right here. This is the impulsive push. This is the corrective move. And now we are seeing the price break. And this is the corrective move. And this is the first impulsive push. Let's quickly get the volume in there. Not absolutely phenomenal, but overall more buy pressure. Sell pressure isn't insignificant. We ideally want to see the sell pressure be very, very limited and a tremendous amount of buy pressure in the best of times, but the price action is looking pretty solid. We broke a major level, which is this zone right here, which is in a confluence where you see this descending zone and this horizontal zone create a level of confluence where there's going to be sell pressure, not only from one zone, but two zones. And then we see that it broke above, retesting, and we can probably create a nice squeeze right here, this nice symmetrical triangle. Pretty well respected. Initially, we would draw it like so, but I'll be a little bit cautious because it hasn't broken theoretically above that zone, which is a major level. And then we can see that there is a nice squeeze with some buy pressure, like so. So now we see a squeeze within a squeeze within a squeeze. That's really what TA is fractal patterns just happening over and over and over again. So what we see right now is a nice squeeze within a squeeze. So we see a nice squeeze here. We see a nice little bullish push. We don't see that break yet. So playing conservatively, I would say we want to wait for that zone as well as this descending zone, which is already broken. But we're not just looking for one break in the price action, but we're looking for market structure. And ideally, we're looking for the third one, which is a validation, which would be something like this. So ideally, we would either have a break entry right there. So if it breaks above that zone, we enter using a stop limit. But another option would be like so. So that would be a little bit less conservative. And then the more conservative one would be right here. But you want to see that buy pressure increase. We can see that right now. We saw a contraction, and then this is the expansion again. And volume really, really expresses contractions and expansions extremely well. So that's going to be Chainlink. Take a good look at that one. Take a good look at Stellar. Don't know why it's not available. There we go. Let's make that a little bit neater. Ethereum doesn't have a whole lot to say because I do think that... yeah, we'll take a look at it. We did take a good look recently, but let's remove all the drawings. I think this will be the last one. Don't want to make this too long, but Ethereum's obviously a very important asset to keep an eye on. Broke above the major level, retested perfectly. Strong bullish push to the upside. Retest right there. First correction, consolidation, and then we're getting an impulsive push. And then let's look at some zones that gave us some trouble previously, which was right here, around 750. And then we also see one at, let's say, 1,000. and then our previous high, which is around 13 to 1400. So now we're going on the 4-hour chart. Pretty similar to BTC overall, where we got this consolidation, and now we're getting our bullish push. We can see that this is a nice ascending triangle formation, very well respected, and we're getting our pullback, and then we're going to be looking for a continuation pattern right here, and lo and behold, we see exactly that. So we're going to be looking for another fractal like so. So that's going to be the zone to keep an eye on, right around there, if we do get a pullback. And then if we do get a pullback from here, nice little base zone to hold, and we're kind of come back up. And because we see 1, 2, 3 valid zone, and then we're looking for a nice little retest entry before we get our bullish push until we get our next zone right here. And from 665-ish to 750, very solid push, like 12-15% until our next major level of supply. So that is going to be the outlook for Ethereum. Looks really bullish, looks really awesome. That could be an entry right there if you're looking at a large time frame. I'm just going and doing a top-down analysis for people who may not have any exposure in Ethereum for BTC, for looking for good opportunities, looking for potential outcomes that are beneficial for the trader and investor. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I think one thing I will finish the video on is actually the BTC.D Bitcoin dominance chart, because I do think it's pretty important and a key thing to look at. Now, if this starts breaking to the upside, that means that BTC starting to absolutely roar, because altcoins are already doing well. So we see a nice zone right here. We see a high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We're getting a lot of resistance right here, and this major level of resistance turning into a new level of support, creating a descending triangle formation, consolidating and contracting the overall dominance. So there's going to be an outcome, there's going to be a big move, and if BTC really starts to take adoption in the institutional space with the thesis that it is the gold 2.0 and every single fund and firm needs to have some exposure to diversify in BTC, that's going to be unbelievable, because we see Bitcoin's market cap being, a point where funds could buy half of its market cap, right? They truly could. So at the end of the day, you got to understand where the market cap is, understand where the overall market is, and it's at a point where funds can really make a big difference. And you still see some of these firms, Grayscale, MicroStrategy, I believe MicroStrategy, but some of these large firms are actually starting to put capital in it. Mass Mutual's insurance fund, and they're putting money in BTC because they need to diversify because of the currency proliferation, the inflation, and the devaluation of the native currency of the United States people, the United States dollar. I said dollar. Also the world reserve currency. So inevitably, when the shift occurs, world reserve currencies have come and gone. It's inevitable. The United States dollar will not be able to survive forever, just because the United States governors, the federal policymakers, they will not be able to sustain it. You can't have free money basically forever without the value of the currency going down. It's inevitable. Fiat currencies do not work. It's only a matter of time. So at the end of the day, the big shift is going to come, and it's going to be a matter of, will there be mass adoption in BTC? And yes, altcoins will do well. But hey, last time in 2017, we saw a huge move in the altcoins, right? When Bitcoin's dominance went from plus 90% all the way down to 36%, below 36% in dominance. That's a massive decrease in the BTC dominance. Altcoins were absolutely roaring. But maybe in this new case, yes, Ethereum is absolutely huge, but if the institutions have way more money than retail traders, way more money, institutional traders make such a big dent compared to retail traders. Retail traders don't even make a dent compared to institutional traders, is what I was getting at. So This is a lot of retail, not a lot of institutions. Well, maybe in an institutional world, BTC is more valued because it has a longer history. Its use case is very simple. It really is store of value, right? Gold is not used every single day to transact goods and services. The US dollar is, but you don't need BTC to be the absolute best in terms of transactions because it might not be used as a currency. It could be used very well as a store of value. So it could have a high cost of transactions and people hold it. They're holders because they don't want to transact. They just want to hold it because it's accumulating wealth for them. Why transact with it, right? It doesn't make sense. So there could be a mass adoption in holding, meaning people are just holding it, not transacting with it, and that could obviously mean that the asset price is going to be going up substantially. So the case may be we're going to be getting our descending zone. If this starts to break to the upside, I think it makes sense to allocate some capital from alts back into BTC because this could be absolutely monster for BTC. If institutions truly treat Bitcoin like gold, the market cap will reflect it. And they won't be putting it in small alts either. So yes, alts are more speculative. They could present a better ROI. But if this is the case, that BTC is the digital 2.0 of gold and it's a store of value and it is truly sound money in the eyes of institutions, it already is for me, but obviously having institutional funds and firms believe that as well is monumental for the overall market and the usability and the reasons why BTC should be valued at a lot higher than it is, right? It's a pretty unbelievable technology that Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he is, she is, we don't know, could be a group of people introduced. So that's going to be wrapping up our video. A little bit longer, 45 minutes, 46 minutes. Hopefully you really enjoyed it. Talked about a bunch of different stuff, brought in a little bit of global macro in it as well. But I like to kind of sit on top of the mountain, get a really good understanding and try to understand it to the best of my ability, get good perspective on not just the price action, but where the capital is flowing by doing multi-asset analysis, really trying to understand from the news stories that we do every single day within our Performante podcast and trying to derive some meaning behind it and reflecting that within the TA. I've been really enjoying it. It's been a phenomenal time. Obviously, BTC moving up is definitely making me and Nathan happen. All the years of holding through good, bad, doesn't matter. It's been a really good situation after the break of really 10K and then the retest. It's been pretty phenomenal. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying it as well. If you are not and don't really know where to start, don't really know how to analyze the market, have no idea, definitely watch our videos. I think they definitely will help if you're trying to get an understanding of how to truly have multi-asset analysis, not just look at the price of Bitcoin on a chart and say, okay, where do I think it's going to go, but understanding the global macro, looking at the dollar, looking at other risk on assets, looking at the correlation between Bitcoin, which is an extremely new asset. We don't really know how investors are looking at it at this point. I think we do, but especially earlier on, it's good to understand the correlations, right? Is it risk on or is it risk off? Does it kind of move similar to gold and maybe when, let's say they are devaluing the currency, gold as well. Does it take that form? Or is it just a speculative asset like the S&P and maybe more so the NASDAQ because it's like a tech idea and a finance kind of sector related product to some degree. It's just more speculative. So there's these different categories that it could fit in, and I think we've really nailed down exactly where it fits, and we've talked about it pretty deeply in this video. But yeah, understanding correlations is pretty important, and we definitely go through that within the podcast and our YouTube videos. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you are sticking around the crypto market, and if you ever have any questions, definitely drop them in the comments in our YouTube or come join us in our Discord. We are definitely open to having discussions. We're very friendly and just trying to help out people who may not understand the crypto market because it's a extremely, extremely good opportunity and doesn't happen very often that you get a brand new asset class that is literally taking over the financial world. So it's pretty unbelievable. Hopefully you are enjoying it as well, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Until next time, have a good one, traders.